So in the psychology world, we call this phenomenon after school restraint collapse. But really in the real life, it looks like your child coming home from daycare or school as a hot mess, right? The tantrums, the grumpiness, the sassiness, the yelling, the refusing to cooperate, the tantrums and aggression, right? It's just a mess, right? And you're like, I have not seen you all day. Like, why are you in such a bad mood? Well, commonly, this is because all day long, if you think about it, kids are fighting to keep it together, right? They're trying to hold it together, and they're keeping in their true messy emotions, right? They're keeping it to themselves so that they can do good in school or daycare. And kids are learning to keep the peace, right? They're learning to control their impulses and be perceived well, be perceived like the good kid. And so they are restraining themselves. And this takes a lot of energy. They're dealing with expectations. They're dealing with having to follow the rules and disappointments and social rejections and learning new things and overcoming challenges, right? They're dealing with a lot that is required of them in daycare or school. When they finally get home, it's like they finally can let loose, right? They can take the burden off of them, put down their backpack and their lunchbox, and just finally kind of be themselves, right? The home is their safe space, and they're with the people that they feel the most comfortable with, aka you, right? And so they often collapse, if you will, and they release all these emotions that they've been stuffing down inside, right? Think of like they're holding this backpack and they're stuffing all those emotions and impulses and frustrations inside their backpack, and they come home and they just drop that backpack and unload, right? They open it all up because they have to release all of those big feelings that they've been keeping inside. And there's also a term in psychology called defensive detachment, meaning that throughout the day they struggled with things that they really needed your support with, and you weren't there. Not to make you feel bad, right? This is the reality. But when you reunite, there is relief, but there's also anger and resentment, right? That they are trying to, then they try to push you away. It's the same thing that happens when, let's say, your child runs off in the store, or they run off in the park, or they run across the street, or do something really scary, right? And you're like, I can't find you, right? Where are you? I'm so afraid. And then they come, right? You're reunited with them, and you feel not only relief, but then you feel anger, right? Like, how could you just do that unsafe thing? I was so afraid, right? That's the same feeling that they have when they come home from school, right? They're like, I needed you. You weren't there for me. I'm relieved, but now I'm angry, right? Now I'm trying to push you away. So now that we got all that out the way, now that I kind of broke down, this phenomenon and why it happens, I'm going to share in this episode how to actually deal with, and dare I say, prevent some of the after school tantrums. So let's dive in. Hi, hello, and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, I am Dr. Jasmine. I am a child and family psychologist as well as a wife and mom. And before we dive into how to deal with after school tantrums, I want to give you a free gift. After you listen to this episode, I want you to watch my free discipline workshop, how to get your child to listen to you without yelling. And in this workshop, I break down step by step how to get more cooperation, and I provide real life examples so that everything is tangible and very practical. So to watch the workshop for free, go to themomspsychologist.com/workshop. So I want to start this conversation by letting you know to keep in mind that when your child comes home from school or daycare and they are having really big tantrums, I want you to remember that this is not because they're trying to be malicious or they're trying to manipulate you or push your boundaries, right? Like I went over in the beginning of this episode, it is commonly out of exhaustion, out of overstimulation, right? And so understanding this distinction will help, because then you know how to best intervene and you know how to best support your child. So let's get into those tips. In the moment, okay? In the moment, let's imagine you are coming home, you're from picking up your kid from school or daycare, and they are in a full-blown tantrum. In the moment, what I want you to do is roll with their emotions, right? Don't try to fix them. Don't try to help them feel better. Just simply let them unload. Remember, it's like they're wearing a backpack all day, stuffing down all these big emotions, and now they get home, they get to their safe place, and they need space and they need time to unleash all these pent up emotions. And so you just want to simply show them that you know the root of the big emotions, right? So during the tantrums, you can say something like, "It's been a long day, hasn't it? Whew, school is a lot. Daycare is a lot. It has been a long day. We had a lot of fun, but now it's time to rest and unload," right? Now, commonly kids are screaming. They're not going to hear everything you say, and that's okay. This is also just to remind yourself, it's not my job to fix it, right? This is normal. This is healthy. They've had a long day and they are allowed to feel however they feel. Of course, you're setting boundaries around unsafe or aggressive behaviors, but as long as they're not hurting themselves or they're not hurting others or property, you want to kind of give them the space and the opportunity to release their pent-up emotions. And then tip 2, and this goes into the prevention realm, and that is to have a relaxing after school or after daycare routine, right? You want to help them decompress, and you want to kind of be proactive and plan ahead. Now that you know their underlying needs, you're like, okay, I know what you need when you get home from school. So rather than, unloading a bunch of questions about how your day was and what did you do and what did you learn and who did you play with, I'm going to allow for some more silence in the car, right? I'm not going to just start, rattling off a bunch of questions like this is a pop quiz. I'm going to give you some silence, right? Because I know that you are exhausted mentally and emotionally. And so, you greet them with a hug or a smile, but you avoid rattling off questions. Now, of course, if they want to talk and they have things to say, by all means, engage them in the conversation, but just be mindful of those questions, right? Just go where they go and, use what they say to inform you on, where you go in the conversation. You just kind of want to follow their lead and tread a little bit carefully, if you will, and help them decompress. So give them space and some downtime from their busy, but also very stimulating environment, right? All day long, they've been around noises and actions and other kids and the teachers and activities and games, and it's been all kinds of fun, but it's also been very stimulating. So you want to just be mindful of that when they come home. Reduce the stimulation, allow for some quiet time, help them decompress. So again, maybe that looks like listening to some relaxing music on the way home rather than rattling off questions, right? Or if you're walking, just being okay with silence and just enjoying the moment without having to say anything. Or, avoiding play dates or scheduled activities right after school or daycare, and just giving them, again, some space and some time just to decompress and come down from the busy school day. Now, a common question I get is, well, what about screens? Can that be part of the decompressing routine? And I would say yes, if that seems to help, but I would definitely keep that as the last resort. And you definitely want to add in connection first before you disconnect even more with screens. Now, step 3 would be to give them a healthy snack. So this is a part of your routine, right? So let's say step 1, you reconnect with a hug, smile, whatever. And then step 2, you help them decompress, allow for silence. Step 3 would be to give them a healthy snack. So oftentimes their blood sugar is low, right? They are hungry. And so rather than asking them if they're hungry, just ask them, which snack do you want? You want A or do you want B? And just feed them, right? Because that will alleviate a lot of tantrums in and of itself. Is just giving them a healthy snack after school. And then step 4 is to plan a fun outing as a part of your routine. Now this is optional, and this is only if it seems to help, because again, sometimes it's more helpful just to keep the schedule open and not have a bunch of things to do right after they get out of school or daycare. But one option is to have something that they can look forward to throughout the day. And maybe it's just on Fridays that you do something fun after school, or maybe it's a little, every day or here and there. But you can plan a fun outing, because especially, sometimes, especially kids who are adjusting to a new school routine, a new teacher, some big change in their life, it can be helpful to give them something that they can look forward to after school, such as, going to their favorite park, or having a special treat after school, or going home and playing board games, and just having a special routine, again, that they can look forward to can be very helpful. But again, this is optional, and you want to kind of keep your unique child in mind and try and stick with what seems to be the most helpful for them after school. And then tip number 3 is to stay connected throughout the day. Again, knowing that, all throughout the day, they're dealing with a lot. They're dealing with disappointments and challenges, and they really yearn for, whether they realize it or not, our connection and our support. And so what you can do to just give them a tangible way to remind them that you are connected with them, is to do tangible things, like maybe you leave a picture inside of their backpack, or you leave them a sweet note inside of their lunchbox, or you have a special small toy or stuffed animal that connects you and them together, right? That's kind of your inside thing. Or, reading the book Invisible String, because it has a really good message about how we are all connected to the ones that we love, even when we can't see them, even when we're not together. We're all connected through this invisible string. And so that can be a helpful concept to teach kids, especially when they're getting used to and adjusting to being separated from you, and starting a new daycare, a new school, or what have you. Just kind of letting them know and starting that conversation about how, I miss you when you're away, and I know that you miss me too, and that this is hard, but we are all connected with that invisible string. Tip number 4 is to connect with them prior to daycare or school. So whether that looks like, spending just an extra couple minutes to snuggle with them in bed before getting up and starting your day, or maybe that's reading a book together, or allowing 10 to 15 minutes after breakfast for special playtime where you just get on the floor and follow their lead, or maybe you guys cook breakfast together, or have a dance party in the kitchen and sing and dance. Just being mindful to add little doses of connection prior to them starting school can be really, really helpful. And then tip number 5 is to remember that despite our best efforts, we cannot prevent tantrums all of the time, right? And I always like to remind myself that if a tantrum happens, it's because it was supposed to happen, that this is okay, and that this is a good thing, that they're releasing their feelings and they're not keeping them all bottled up, right? They needed to share something, or they needed to release their feelings with us, and that's a good thing. And so just reconnect after the meltdowns, reassure them at the end of the day you love all parts of them. You love them when they're happy and excited, but you also love them when they're sad and overwhelmed and frustrated, and that you love all parts of them, and that all feelings are okay. Can just be a really powerful message to send our kids, especially after a tantrum. And make a plan for next time. Again, try to think about your after school routine and look for ways that you can add either more connection or more downtime and opportunities for them to decompress. And talk with your child about, I know this is hard, right? I often find that we have a hard time after school or daycare. And I want this to be smoother for all of us. How can we work as a team, right? Do you notice this? What do you need from me during these times? I want to support you, right? I'm on your side. So commonly just opening up that conversation can be such a wonderful way to normalize what's going on, but also like deal with it, if you will, and just get feedback from them on what will help to support them after school. And, just sending the overall message that home is their safe space, right? And just teaching them that, it's always okay to feel what you feel, and it's always okay to communicate with me. And here's how we can try to do it in healthier ways so that I understand you and so that I can help support you as best as I can. So I hope this episode was helpful. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and let me know down in the comment section what other skills or things you want to teach your child, what other areas you want to work on. And big shout out to everybody who is watching or listening, I should say, on podcasts, and huge thank you to everyone who has left a kind review. It really does help to support my work and get my work out to as many families as possible. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And also after this video, don't forget to check out my free discipline workshop, How to Get Your Child to Listen to You Without Yelling. There are so many practical tools to help you gain more cooperation and also connection with your little one. So go to themomspsychologist.com/workshop to watch it for free. That is it for this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.